Good evening, and welcome once again to our Carinine Hour, in which we discuss matters related to the development of our beloved Bahama land. This evening, I invite you to share in a conversation with Mr. Larry Gibson as we talk about something that is of utmost importance for the Bahamas and for all Bahamians. That is the whole question of jobs creation, and the whole question of the extent of the unemployment in the latest statistics that have been given. And so, Mr. Gibson, welcome once again. And
well, thank you very much, Your Grace, for having me.
Yes. I have chosen this topic as a result of a discussion last week I heard on Morning Joe. One of the contributors says that the biggest social project facing the United States is spelled J-O-B.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprised by not only the comment, but the conviction with which he said it, because I thought with their lowering of their unemployment rate significantly, that the job situation would not have been as critical as. He then went on to explain that the fact that it is relatively low, there are still millions of United States citizens who are unemployed.
Yeah. I would like to just sort of to set context for this part of the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Job growth or job recovery, I should say, in the post-recession environment,
Mm-hmm.
it's a challenge not just in the U.S., it's a challenge worldwide.
Right.
And likewise, even in the Bahamas, we have a vexing problem. Our national unemployment rate is probably, I think, somewhere around 16%. But what is more vexing, if you take that age group, 18 to 35, it's somewhere 32, 33%. So really, what you're looking at, youth employment, you're looking at 1/3. Now, getting back to the point you started with in terms of the U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
the U.S., ironically enough, is said to be leading the free world out of recession.
Mm-hmm.
But what has happened is that this recovery, firstly, it is not as strong as it's been historically, and secondly, it's what they call a no job growth recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the problem we're facing all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the Bahamas, we've actually masked the problem for many years, because what we did, if you go back probably to the 60s, 70s, we created government corporations, and we just stuffed them with people.
Mm-hmm.
We just stuffed them with people, whether they needed it or not. So now we have a period of reckoning where you can't do that no more.
Mm-hmm.
Then, the economist said, well, one way to sort of get the people off the government payroll and reduce the reliance on government and government jobs is to privatize. We've really not embarked upon this privatization in any meaningful way.
Mm-hmm.
We've privatized of sorts, Patelco, where we've had a 51 or 49% ownership, but that's something we'll talk about later. Which is really, you're looking sort of like a joint venture, and you're having some degree of restructuring.
But even that is now, we are now faced with a significant job loss.
Yeah, in fact, as we speak,
Yes.
there is an voluntary separation arrangement going on. So we've never really, we've masked the problem historically in the Bahamas. Now, this is a really, really complex issue, because it's not just one solution. You got to go back to whether there's alignment between the skills required by the economy, this information economy, and the skills that are available. You go back to entitlement issues, where people feel that they're entitled to government jobs because of political support, historically or what have you. So there's a whole host of issues. And then if you look at the economy, what used to take on a lot of entry-level jobs is in the hotel sector.
That's right.
And you can see the problems we have right now.
With that. But I also remember some years ago, I was in Harbour Island, I think when I was doing the youth report, and I was struck with a lady who worked in a hotel with a good salary. She told me how happy she was. She was leaving it to get a government job because she said the government job was more secure. And she felt
Actually, I was in a conversation recently, and you're sort of saying that to some degree now, where people who applied their services in the private sector are now looking for government jobs because they feel that they're less apt to be downsized. So, on one hand, you've seen, in some instances, good quality, skilled people wanting to come back, which is what a vibrant civil service needs. But they may be doing it for the wrong reasons. Right. So, yeah, that's something we're going to have to temper going forward. Yeah.
But the overall effect of this huge number of unemployed persons, not only is it dampening in terms of the national morale, but it does present serious problems for so many families. Or there are families in which nobody is working.
It does, yes, absolutely. It struck me just on Sunday afternoon. I stopped into the local food store in my area, and the little packing boy, very articulate. And as he took the things to my car, I asked him, I said, well, what are you doing for the summer? He said, well, sir, my dad is self-employed and things are very slow. And my mother got laid off. She became redundant on her job, and I have to work to help in whichever way I could. And, it struck me because, well, firstly, this little chap, I suspect he could have been 13, 14, but he looked a lot younger. And clearly, he came from heretofore was probably a upper middle class privilege. And now you're saying their world's all topsy-turvy. Okay? So really the question then becomes, what is the solution? How do we go about tackling this chronic problem that we have in the country? And there is no short-term solutions. We see governments increasingly unable to just create jobs or put people to work. The private sector is retrenching, and then you have this whole thing called productivity, which in the Bahamas, we've been lulled into this false sense of security where you have a job but you don't have to give your best, you don't have to give 100%. Well, all of these things are coming back on us at the same precise time.
And then this whole question of the not having the requisite skills for employment.
Exactly.
I mean, that takes us to the whole question of the educational system.
Yes.
And I always might call the lack thereof in terms of being unable to prepare citizens for the workforce. I mean, even in some persons I've spoken to about who've been searching for people to employ, it'll be that they are amazed at the number of people who can't even fill out an application. They've finished, graduated from school, but a simple thing like
that's right.
I think that they're just unable to do it.
Right.
Now, so how can we reasonably talk about improving this educational system so we get a better product?
Well, there's several ways to approach it. Firstly, if we're talking about the educational system, there has to be a recognition in this country that there's honor and dignity in blue-collar jobs and trades. I go back and forth to Canada a fair amount. And in Canada, there's pride, there's blue-collar workers are able to do well. There is not that stigma. But somehow in this little small society, everybody needs to be a high-profile professional, a doctor, a lawyer, a financial manager, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if you trace the history of successful Bahamian business people and successful Bahamian, black Bahamians, they were, you know, phase 3 electricians, they were master plumbers, licensed plumbers, they were joiners, and not carpenters, joiners, those sort of things. But somehow we sort of lost, you know, over the years, that these are viable, these are the type professions where you can enter and you can do very well and provide a very good standard of living.
And take pride in the craft.
Exactly.
And, well, there was some talk about changing the prison system to make some allowances for the technical training, so that at some stage in the students' progress, you will have a separation. Some will go into the technical field, some will go continue in the academic stream. But I haven't heard anything recently about what's happening. I don't see any signs of that really taking on in a big way.
Right, and we haven't, and you know, that's exactly how it was in the 40s, where you had an academic track and a tech, and if you were on a technical track, that don't mean you would be less successful as a human being. It didn't speak to the quality of person that would be produced. It just spoke to the emphasis of what you would do for a career, and there's a total difference. Now, you know, I think we need to put a renewed emphasis on technical education, because we need those people. We need people to do the air conditioning system, to do those tradesman type jobs. And you know, whenever we go to build a major project, whether it's like the Bahamas or stuff like that, we should have more people who could do more of those skills. Okay?
And also prepare for it.
Yes.
Because when we did the youth report, it was in '94, this is one of the areas we emphasized, that training of would take priority, because it was so obvious that these skills were needed.
That's right.
But that message really wasn't, no one bought it. So we still are, whatever. You don't even have to have a mega project now to get a car properly serviced.
Exactly.
You have to get
That's right.
That we need to train Bahamian in every sphere.
Absolutely.
To be technically qualified.
Right.
And to take pride in being a good craftsperson.
So, you know, I guess what I'm saying is one part is we really need to increase and put a serious effort on our technical training. And, you know, you look at other countries, even countries within the Caribbean, they have a series of licenses within these, and people would probably say, if I'm a plumber, you know, I'm a master plumber, grade 2 or grade 3. We need that back. You know, you look at the whole UK, we used to send people off to be engineers to come back for BEC. They used to do HND, something called Higher National Diplomas. Very few of them actually went to university and did a university degree. They did practical skills.
And that's what you need to make the thing functional.
Absolutely. So you need that. I personally think even within the school system, we need to eliminate social promotion. That time has stopped.
Ever since.
Yeah, if you haven't met certain levels of competencies or competence, I don't think you should automatically be promoted to the next level.
Well, it only increases this unfortunate
Right.
state of affairs in which you have a graduation at the end of the academic year, and you know that 49% of the graduating class has failed.
Yes.
I mean,
No, and
you got 50 to 51% that made it, but
right.
when you're in the upper 40s of not making it, I mean, you are presented with a serious challenge.
Well, not only that, you are handicapping yourself 20, 30 years down the line. You see, it's not so bad. I mean, it's bad enough today, only 1 out of 2 actually completed their high school course. What it's doing for your economy, it's really creating a disservice. Okay? So, you know, the other thing, too, is that we have to somehow create incentives, create a support mechanism for entrepreneurship. In the United States, a lot of the jobs are being created in companies that are 20 people or less. Okay? In a big country like that, you know, everybody thinks it's the General Motors or the General Electrics. Yes, they have 150,000 people scattered through the United States. But the real difference, or what really creates jobs, is those little,
A small business.
20 persons or less.
Good. I will come back to that when we talk about entrepreneurship, but we must take our first break at this point.